Welcome, everyone, to another Counterpoint conversation. I'm Mark Einstein, a research director at Counterpoint, and today I'm very delighted to have with me Mr. Ziad Asghar, who is a general manager and leads the XR and spatial computing group at Qualcomm. And I'm especially happy that we are now here today live at Snapdragon Summit 2024 on the beautiful island of Maui. So, Ziad, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So could you maybe just start off, I know you're a Qualcomm veteran, could you just talk a little bit about your experience and your background?
Sure. So I've been with Qualcomm about 14 years at this point in time, and my last couple of positions have been really driving overall technology roadmap at Qualcomm, which means all the technologies that you saw over the last 2 days, camera, graphics, AI, and CPU, and audio and video, as to how those technologies go into all of our different business lines. So in that context, I was already very close to XR because I was working with XR team on bringing a lot of those technologies into that product line, and then definitely was driving our AI for the last 6 years at Qualcomm. So it's been really exciting to see how AI and XR can come together and create an amazing opportunity. So that's what made me come onto this side.
So I think that has really been what everyone is talking about is, AI, Gen AI, on-device AI. How is this changing XR?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things which, I always like to say that these two technologies, XR and AI, are very symbiotic. They come together and they augment each other in a way that it's actually much better than their individual capabilities. So for example, I mean, just imagine that, you can have some sort of smart glasses on your face, but the benefit of smart glasses on your face over perhaps just a smartphone would be, it actually sees what you see, it hears what you hear, and is essentially able to help you augment your real life. We are seeing this huge transformation, an amazing inflection point coming in now with devices like Meta Ray-Bans, which has shown that what a form factor like this can really do.
Right.
And already with the virtual assistant enabled on the device like that, it's really changed the experience for people. And now you can envision that you will have displays coming into those devices very soon with the augmentation of on-device and off-device AI, and you can now have a real assistant that's available to you at all times. And there are multiple different verticals that can benefit immensely from this. So, for example, what you could do is that you could basically have these large language models that are able to, reason with you. Or, for example, you can ask questions about anything that you're looking at. If you're cooking, you can ask questions about what the recipe can be with these things. If you are out somewhere and you see an art, you can ask about that, right? I always love this example of, we are at a conference over here and you're walking around, and what if it could just put a nice blurb on everybody's head that shows their name, it shows their title, and the last time you met them. I mean, that's exactly what I think XR and AI can do together. It gives you superpowers, right? It gives you that capability that you alone would not have. Similarly, by the way, not to be left behind, MR and VR are going to benefit immensely from AI inclusion as well. Like one of the biggest challenges people find with MR is the availability of 3D content. But now you can imagine with techniques like neural radiance fields or Gaussian splatting, you can actually take 2D data and create 3D content out of that, right? So now it starts to solve that problem to a great extent. Or, for example, you could have NPCs in a game that you're playing through VR, and you could be interacting with that NPC using, LLMs. Or, you can have models that are just coming through now, AI models for text to 3D. And you could be in a game setting or in a different place. You could say, hey, create me this sword that should, let's say, be in blue color, and it should be a samurai style sword. And it's able to create that for me on the fly, right? Now you have customized content because, you can have a world where a graphics designer sits down and creates a world that everybody uses. Or you can have a MR world where basically it's generated and created and personalized for each user. And I think that's what AI allows you to do, which is just amazing, I think.
Absolutely. So I think another question that I have and has been coming up a lot at the conference is, how does the XR device work with other devices? Because it's about an ecosystem. We've seen some interesting examples with cars today, and smartphones and all sorts of devices. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I really think so. I mean, I'm very excited about what I call like the constellation of devices on a person. So if you think about the smartwatch and you think about the smart glasses and earbuds and a smartphone, between those devices, the amount of information that you have available can really change the way we do generative AI. So I'll give you an example, right? So let's say you're going somewhere, you have your glasses on. Now it can see what you're looking at. So it knows it's daytime. It knows that basically you are in an office setting. It knows at what time of the day it is. The smart watch knows what's happening inside. It knows your heart rate. It knows your blood pressure. It knows your activity level, whether you're running, whether you're walking. So one device gives you information of the outside, another device gives you information of the inside. And then you could take this context information and basically take it to a smartphone or a device that's able to run a much larger AI model. And you can completely change because now you're providing additional pieces of information to that large language model or to the large modality model as well. And then the capability of these devices are different. You could run, let's say today, with the products that we have out there, I can run a 1 billion parameter model on my smart glass. So let's say I go for a run or I go for a bike ride. Essentially, I can have that model running on my smart glass completely. I come home. Now I can basically transfer and offload that to my smartphone or to my PC. The smartphone can run a 7 billion or 10 billion parameter model. The PC can run a 15 billion parameter model.
Wow.
I go to my car that can run a 30 billion parameter model. And I have the full gamut of capabilities. And then I have 5G connection. And if I need to go to the cloud to be able to get additional information or to run even a larger model, I have that ability. So I think this comes together in an amazing fashion to do the best, most personalized generative AI for every person.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very, very good point. It's not one size fits all. There's going to be certain things that are going to need to be in the cloud. There's going to be some things that can be just on-device smart glass.
Absolutely.
And that really enables a lot. And I'm also very excited about that. So something else I wanted to just get your opinion on is, I'm based in Japan, and a lot of companies there have tried to build virtual worlds, but found that it was very difficult, right? Because even if you want to make a model of, just one, Shibuya station, daytime, nighttime, when buildings change and all this kind of stuff, but Gen AI has kind of reinvigorated the quest to build these virtual worlds. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. See, because now the challenge that people used to have, I think, building with those worlds was you never had enough data, right? And you were not able to get enough data with the fidelity and the quality that you needed to have that pristine experience. Well, now you can actually fill in those gaps. Let's say there are gaps in the data and the material that you have. You can use generative AI to fill in those gaps. You can use generative AI to create content. You can create a different perspective on the same, just like the example that you gave between a daylight view of the same place versus a nighttime view of it. You can use generative AI to do that. I mean, we today can do models that do text or image generation from text in sub-second. So you can imagine that a person is walking by and you can actually be updating a lot of that information on the fly for that person and create that unique and amazing world. But I think what's more important is for imagining, for creating new worlds, things that you've never even seen before. I mean, Shibuya Station is there, but let's say you wanted to create this world that didn't exist. Well, you can do that now, right? I think those are the things that really set this apart. And then, especially in MR context, especially with mixed reality, where you have this amazing video see-through, you can actually interact with the world outside, yet create that very, very unique experience inside the device, with generative AI inclusion, and have experiences that were just not possible before. You can have great productivity. You can have great collaboration. You can imagine, an engine or something that you're designing together, and you can have 5 people in all different parts of the world speaking different languages, and they can be interacting in one single space and be able to understand each other seamlessly because all those translations are happening on the fly. They are able to interact with exactly that same object in one place. I mean, that's just superb.
Right.
Yeah.
So another area that I wanted to talk to you about, because I think we often think of XR in consumer terms, which makes sense, how it would affect our daily lives. But I think there's a huge opportunity for the enterprise. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Totally. So I'm totally with you on that, right? Just imagine that actually enterprise use cases, I would say in some cases, are even more interesting. Right, so we have a partner, and basically, they help people with, for example, remote work. So the way that it works in that case is that, let's say you have a personnel or somebody that you're sending out to replace the wheel on an aircraft. There are very few people in the world who know how to do that.
Right.
They're wearing these, HMD or a MR device, and it's basically telling them exactly what steps to do in what order. You take away the chance of any error happening. You're able to get the job done much faster with greater quality. There is training examples that are fairly similar as well, right? I think there's a whole plethora of applications. There are applications in medical field, right? There are applications in retail. There are applications in productivity, like all of those ones that I think are very low hanging fruit at this point in time.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So, obviously to make XR happen, it's going to take a village.
Sure.
So what is Qualcomm doing to promote the ecosystem?
Yeah. So, we have been at it for more than 15 years, and we have had fundamental research happening within Qualcomm. At the same time, we have acquired multiple different teams and companies. And what we have done is we have the broadest MR and AR roadmap at this point in time in the industry. But along with that, what we have been investing very heavily on are the perception technologies. These are the technologies that you need to work in the XR realm. This is hand tracking, this is plane detection, 6DoF head tracking, or basically SLAM-like technologies. All of these are what we have created in-house, and they're best in class and basically best KPIs possible. Now, that's the second part of the puzzle. So we have the great chipset roadmap like XR2 Gen 2, and we've created actually a bifurcated roadmap because the requirements for MR and AR are vastly different. So basically, we have a roadmap for MR and VR, and we have a roadmap for AR. So that's first part. Second part is the perception technologies. The third part is actually we work with partners and ODMs to create reference designs. This would be a reference design that has all the cameras placed on it, has the right displays chosen. It basically has that end device. You can bring in that device, take it as a starting point, and create your product very, very quickly. And then the last part that we do along with that is that basically we offer Snapdragon Spaces, which is our developer platform. And with that, you actually have all the pieces ready for a small company to bring in a unique new experience that perhaps we might not even thought about. But they bring in that experience and are able to launch a product fairly quickly using our Snapdragon Spaces assets. And then, of course, we're working across all the different ecosystems that are emerging in XR. And we do this because we believe in this space, and we believe that this space is primed for acceleration at this point in time, especially this holy grail of XR, AI, and then multiple devices coming together. At the same time, if you look at some of the things that are happening in AI, for example, the orchestration works that's going on, the work that's going on with small language models, right? I have always said that when a new modality comes, the model is usually large, it's running in the cloud. As time goes by, the model becomes smaller, and then it becomes actually more capable. And now you can pair this along with, for example, domain-specific models. So you're creating something for a medical application, train the model on medical data only, takes away hallucination, takes away other things, but now have that orchestration realm on top of that, which allows you to be able to take away any of the erroneous results. And I think you put together an amazing experience. So we have all of those pieces from the lowest level, silicon, and by the way, even more so, we're taking and learning from these, hardening certain things in silicon. So there is a nice feedback loop that we have going on, which allows us to continue to improve our products with time as well. So we think we have all the pieces to just make this happen today.
It's quite amazing because I think it was you showed me in Barcelona maybe 2 or 3 years ago the first smartphone I'd ever seen with Gen AI on device.
That's right.
And that was only 2 or 3 years ago.
That's right.
And look at how far we've come in only 3 years. It's just absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Indeed.
And of course, Qualcomm's always played a very pivotal role in pushing the envelope with these technologies.
Absolutely.
So I think I would just want to wrap up with, if you could look into your crystal ball and make some predictions on where XR and spatial computing are headed if we do this again in a few years at Snapdragon 2028 or 2030.
We should compare notes then.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll have this recorded.
Yeah, so I really think that there is a paradigm shift that's happening. We started with personal computing, right? Everybody has a laptop. We use it for productivity and all those applications. Then came the era of mobile computing, and right, a lot of us has kind of lived through that era. And essentially, we kept the PC, but we started to use the smartphone a lot more for certain applications.
Right.
I think the next step and the next paradigm shift after that is basically spatial computing. And that is really coming. And if I were to look into my crystal ball, I think that in the next couple of years, we will have devices with smart glasses, with displays in them, for your prescription lenses that you could actually use it for everyday work. And these would be devices that would be able to last enough time that you can have a great experience on them. These would be devices that you'll rely on them completely for certain tasks now. You will not need to necessarily even take out your phone from your pocket, right? Those are the kinds of things that are going to happen. But then in terms of use cases, I'm actually super excited, right? So like today, let's say you could be wearing your glasses and you look at something and say, hey, I would like to buy that. And basically does gaze detection, knows exactly what I'm looking at, takes that object, puts it into my cart and says, hey, next time you can decide and choose to buy it, right? In the MR context, for example, there are students who may not have access to certain lab materials, or they may not have access to certain specimens, for example. Well, you can envision that we can actually have all of that available in the virtual domain for them to see and to experiment with. But on top of that, I mean, I always love to give this example that, if you ever teach a class, I used to teach in my university days, and if a student is getting the material, you can see from his face. If he isn't, you can see that from his face too. You could actually, with that guidance of a tablet that might be sitting in front of a student, you can modify the lesson plan on the fly, right? You can slow down the delivery of the material, you can speed it up for a different student, and basically have a customized, personalized lesson plan for each student. You could have, you have aging populations in multiple countries.
Right.
You could have glasses for them. Most of them wear glasses anyways at that point in time. But you could be aggregating the sensory information from heart, from blood pressure, from, shakiness, for example, and you can actually prevent certain incidents from happening. Maybe you can prevent a fall from happening by alerting a healthcare provider, for example. So I think the applications in education, in training, in elderly care, in medicine, in retail, in enterprise, I think they're just all low-hanging fruit at this point in time. So I'm that's why I'm on this side, because I think this intersection of XR and AI is going to create those amazing new opportunities.
Wow, no, that's quite a fascinating look into the future, and what we might be seeing at the next few Snapdragon summits.
Absolutely.
Well, those are my questions, and I just want to thank you, Zaid, so much for this. This was a very insightful look into the state of the industry and maybe the future of the industry.
Awesome. Thank you
thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.